I walked into a designer handbag repair shop to retrieve my daughter's bag. But what I received wasn't a neatly restored bag. Instead, the shopkeeper grabbed my wrist, his voice trembling as he whispered, "Get the kids out of town tonight, don't ask why." When he opened a secret compartment beneath the lining and revealed what was hidden inside, my heart stopped. Hey there, welcome to our channel. Do me a favor, tap subscribe, leave a like, and let me know in the comments which part of the world you're joining from today. Just so you know, this narrative blends imaginative storytelling with educational purpose. While names and settings may echo familiar patterns, they're entirely fictional. What matters most is the powerful message waiting for you in every scene. I pushed open Tony's repair shop door just after 4:45 that Tuesday. The bell jingled above my head. Tony Marchetti had been mending my family's leather goods for 15 years. I was there to collect Tamsin's burgundy Hermes bag while she was in Seattle on business. Spring rain had soaked through my coat. The shop smelled like old leather and polish, warm and comforting. But something stopped me cold. Tony stood behind the counter, his face pale. His warm smile was gone. His dark eyes darted toward the door, then back to me, then to the street outside. Sweat beaded along his hairline despite the cool weather. "Tony, are you all right?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached beneath the counter and pulled out the burgundy bag. But he didn't hand it over. His fingers gripped the leather so tightly, his knuckles went white. Then he moved around the counter toward me faster than I'd ever seen him move. His hand clamped around my wrist. "Juliet," he said, his voice low and shaking. "You need to get Grace and Liam out of Fairview tonight. Don't ask questions. Just go." My stomach dropped. This was desperation. "Tony, you're scaring me. What's going on?" He glanced toward the front window again, checking the empty sidewalk. Then he leaned closer, his grip tightening until it hurt. "When I was repairing the lining inside your daughter's bag, I found something hidden in the seam." He released my wrist and pulled out a small plastic evidence bag. My hands started to tremble before I even looked inside. The first thing I saw was a bank transfer receipt. $350,000. The signature at the bottom read S. Ivanov. I had never heard that name before. The second thing made my throat close. Photographs. 2 of them. Grace and Liam playing in the backyard last summer. Grace's blonde ponytail catching the sunlight. Liam's gap-toothed grin as he clutched his blue stuffed bear. But someone had drawn red circles around both their faces. Not careful circles. Not neat. These were jagged, angry, like whoever held the marker had pressed down so hard they nearly tore through the paper. The rage in those red strokes made my stomach twist. The circles pressed over my grandchildren's smiling faces like targets. Then I saw the third item. A small folded piece of paper handwritten in blue ink. "Package ready. Coordinates 40.7128, North 74.0060 West. Delivery Thursday, 10 p.m. COD." The room tilted. That T at the end. The way the tail curved back, slanting slightly to the left. I'd seen that signature 1,000 times. On birthday cards, on school permission slips, on our family calendar. That was Tamsin's handwriting. My daughter's handwriting. On a note that called Grace and Liam package. I couldn't breathe. The evidence bag slipped from my fingers and Tony caught it. "Juliet," he said, his voice breaking. "I have a daughter too, Sophia. She's 8 years old, same age as Grace. When I saw these photos with those marks," his eyes welled. "I thought, what if someone knew Sophia was in danger and said nothing? I couldn't stay silent." He set the bag on the counter between us. "I've been in this business 30 years. I've repaired bags for mayors, for judges, for criminals. I've found money, love letters, drugs, but I've never found evil until today." I looked at the handwriting again. Tamsin's familiar T. The coordinates. The red circles drawn with such violence. "This is human trafficking," Tony whispered. "This is someone marking children to sell them." I grabbed the counter to keep from collapsing. I remembered finding credit card statements on Tamsin's desk last month, charges from casinos, online betting sites. When I'd asked about a call from Apex Collections, she'd snapped at me, said it was work-related. Her hands always shook when money came up. Gambling debts, a trafficker's signature, my grandchildren circled in red. I left Tony's shop clutching the evidence bag inside my purse, the spring rain now feeling like ice against my skin. Those red circles haunted me, but it was Tamsin's handwriting that terrified me most, because it meant this wasn't something being done to her. This was something she had done, and I had less than 48 hours before the Thursday night delivery. I had to call Ryan. I had to save Grace and Liam. But first, I had to accept that my daughter had become a monster. My fingers fumbled with the phone as I sat in my car outside Tony's shop. The evidence bag lay on the passenger seat like a bomb. I had to call Ryan, my son-in-law, the father of those circled children. But how do you tell someone their wife is selling your children? Ryan answered on the third ring. I could hear restaurant noise in the background, laughter, the clink of glasses. "Hey, Mom, what's up? I'm about to head into dinner with a client here in Denver." His voice sounded so light, so easy, I almost couldn't speak. "Ryan, you need to listen very carefully," my voice cracked. "Something is very wrong with Tamsin." Silence. The background music faded. He was stepping outside. "Mom, what are you talking about? Tamsin's at a conference in Seattle until tomorrow night." That's what I thought too. "Ryan, I just picked up her bag from Tony's repair shop. He found something hidden inside. I'm sending you photos right now." I pulled up our encrypted messaging app and photographed the evidence spread across my lap. My thumb hovered over the send button. Once I did this, there would be no going back. I pressed send. The call came back immediately. "Mom, what the hell is this?" Tony found them in a hidden pocket. A bank receipt for $350,000 signed by someone named S. Ivanov, and photos, pictures of Grace and Liam with red circles drawn around their faces. Angry circles, like they're being marked. I forced myself to keep going. There's also a note. It says package ready and gives coordinates and a delivery time, 10 o'clock Thursday night. Ryan, I recognized the handwriting. It's Tamsin's. The line went silent except for his breathing, fast, shallow, like he'd been punched. Finally, "Are you sure it's her writing?" "I've seen it for 9 years. On every birthday card, every school form, I'm sure. There has to be an explanation. Maybe it's for work. Maybe someone planted it." "Ryan," I cut him off. "Your wife has been acting strange for weeks. Late nights, secret phone calls, distant with the kids, and now this. Those are your babies with red circles around their faces like livestock at an auction." Another long pause. When he spoke again, his voice was hollow. "I've been in Denver for 6 days. She said the Seattle conference was last minute added Friday." The realization hit him. I could hear it in the sharp intake of breath. "Mom, what if she's not in Seattle at all? What if she lied about everything?" The note says, "Delivery Thursday at 10 p.m. Today is Tuesday. We have less than 48 hours," Ryan finished. I heard typing through the phone. "I'm checking flights now. There's a red-eye leaving Denver at 9:45 tonight. Gets into Fairview at 2:15 tomorrow morning. I'm booking it." A moment of doubt seized me. "Ryan, what if we're wrong? What if there's an explanation we're not seeing?" His answer came back fast and sharp. "Look at that photo again. Look at my children's faces with those circles. Tell me there's an innocent explanation." I pulled out the photographs. Grace's smile, Liam's bright eyes, and those jagged red circles cutting through their innocence. There was no explanation, only evil. "No," I whispered, "there isn't." "Mom, I need you to go home. Act normal. If Tamsin calls, tell her you picked up the bag and hung it in her closet. Make her think everything is normal. We need time before she knows we found the evidence." Ryan's voice dropped lower, colder than I'd ever heard it. "I think the woman I married is planning something with this S. Ivanov person. Something involving a lot of money and marking my children like they're merchandise." Merchandise. The word hung between us like poison. "I'll be there at 2:30 in the morning. Don't let Tamsin know anything." "I won't." "And Mom, keep that evidence safe. We're going to need it." The line went dead. I sat there as darkness settled over Fairview, the evidence bag heavy in my lap. When I finally drove home through the spring rain, I kept one hand on the evidence bag the entire way. Tony's words echoed, "Get them out tonight." But Ryan wouldn't arrive until 2:30 in the morning. Tamsin would return Wednesday evening at 6. That gave us about 40 hours. 40 hours to save Grace and Liam from their own mother. The clock had started counting down. At 5:30 that morning, I stood in Grace's doorway watching her sleep, her yellow bunny tucked under her chin. How do you wake a child and tell her she's running from her own mother? You don't. You smile, you lie, you protect innocence as long as possible. I sat on the edge of her bed and brushed the hair from her forehead. Grace, sweetheart, time to wake up. We're going on an adventure. Her eyes fluttered open, confused. Grandma, it's still dark. I know, honey, but we have to catch an early flight. We're going to see mountains and horses. Grace sat up. Where's Mommy? My chest tightened. I'd rehearsed this lie with Ryan. Mommy's busy with work in Seattle, but Daddy flew in from Denver and we thought you and Liam would love a special trip. Down the hall, I heard Ryan waking Liam. We're going on an airplane. You can sleep on the plane. An airplane. Sudden excitement in Liam's voice. He appeared clutching his blue stuffed bear, the bear we'd checked for the tracker just hours ago. I made pancakes while Ryan stood at the stove gripping the spatula too tightly. Is this like a vacation? Grace asked, watching us closely. Exactly like a vacation, Ryan said, his voice too bright. Grace studied him. Daddy, your eyes are red. Just tired from my flight, sweetie. Then, when we get back, will Mommy be there? Ryan and I exchanged glances. We'll figure that out later, Grace, I said gently. The taxi arrived at 6:15. Liam noticed the suitcases. That's a lot of bags for a vacation. We might stay for a while, Ryan said. A whole week adventure. A week? Grace's voice rose. But I have school, an art class Thursday. The first crack in the facade. Ryan knelt to her eye level. Grace, sometimes grown-ups need to make fast decisions to keep you safe. This is one of those times. Do you trust me? Grace nodded slowly. Always. Then trust me now. The taxi pulled away at 6:20. Grace pressed her face to the window, watching familiar streets slide past. I'm going to miss my room, she said quietly. My throat closed. She might never see it again. At the airport, Ryan checked in one-way tickets. At security, the TSA agent smiled at Liam. Nice bear. What's his name? Captain Courage. He protects me from bad guys. If only he knew how true that was. Grace took the window seat, Liam between Ryan and me, surrounded, protected. Liam fell asleep before takeoff. Grace stared out the window as the plane taxied. When the plane left the ground, I watched Fairview disappear below. Halfway through the flight, Grace turned from the window. Grandma, when we go back, will everything be different? She knew. On some level, she knew. Yes, sweetheart, everything will be different. Will Mommy be different? I couldn't lie. I don't know. My phone buzzed. A text from Tamsin. Hi, Mom, change of plans. Conference ended early. Catching earlier flight home. We'll be there at 2 p.m. instead of 6. Can't wait to see my babies. Have them ready for me, love you. XO. My entire body went rigid. I showed Ryan the phone. His face drained of color. 2 p.m., he whispered. We don't land until 12:45. By the time she gets home, sees the note, realizes they're gone. We'll still be at Paul's unpacking. She'll call. When we don't answer, she'll know something's wrong. We weren't just racing to Santa Fe anymore. We were racing against Tamsin's arrival. We landed at 12:45 Mountain Time. By 2 o'clock, Tamsin would walk into an empty house. She'd see my note taking the kids to visit an old friend. She'd notice I'd deliberately left out where. She'd call. We wouldn't answer. And she'd know we'd found her secret. That her packages had escaped. That Thursday night's delivery was impossible now. I didn't know what a desperate woman with $350,000 at stake would do. But we had exactly 3 hours before Tamsin's panicked calls began. Santa Fe's brilliant blue sky felt like another planet after Fairview's gray rain. As the plane touched down at 12:45, I checked my phone, still no calls from Tamsin. She'd land in Fairview in 75 minutes. 75 minutes before she walked into an empty house and realized her packages had vanished. Paul Henderson stood in arrivals holding a handmade sign, Archer Family. We'd known each other 40 years since our Navy days. He recognized us and his weathered face lit with a smile, then dimmed when he saw our expressions. Juliet, you're safe now. Paul knelt to Grace's eye level. You must be Grace. And you're Liam. I bet you like horses. Liam's eyes went wide. You have horses. 3 of them. You can meet them later. The first genuine smile I'd seen from the kids all morning. In Paul's truck, Ryan checked his phone constantly. Paul's adobe house sat in the foothills surrounded by juniper trees and endless sky. Linda met us at the door. "I made cookies," she said simply. Linda took Grace and Liam to the kitchen. Paul led Ryan and me into the living room. "Tell me," Paul said. I pulled the plastic bag from my purse and laid out the receipt, the photos, the handwritten note. Paul studied them in silence. Then, "Lord Juliet, this is human trafficking." "That's what Tony said. My grandson died 5 years ago. Daniel, he was only 6. Every day since I've thought, what if I could save one child?" His eyes met mine. "You're giving me that chance." At 2:15, my phone rang. Tamsin's name on the screen. "Don't answer," Ryan said. "Not yet." I let it ring through to voicemail. Seconds later, Ryan's phone rang. He answered and quietly activated speakerphone. Tamsin's voice. "Ryan, where are the kids? I'm at your mom's house. It's empty." Ryan, eerily calm. "Hey, Mom took Grace and Liam on a trip to visit Paul Henderson in Santa Fe. She thought the kids needed a break. Why didn't anyone tell me?" "It was last minute. You were swamped with your conference. We didn't want to bother you." Tamsin's voice tightened. "Ryan, this feels wrong. Why would your mother take my children without asking me?" "Our children, Tamsin, and she left you a note." A vague note. No name, no location. "Mom took them out of state. They needed air. I'll update you later." Long silence. "When are they coming back?" "Sunday, just a week." "I want to talk to them." "They're probably napping. Long travel day. Mom will call you tonight." "Promise me they're okay." "I promise." Technically true. The call ended. Ryan's hands shook. "That bought us 12 hours. She's expecting a call tonight." Paul was already dialing. "You need a lawyer. Right now. Diana Foster, best criminal defense attorney in Santa Fe. She's expecting you at 3. Paul drove us to Diana's office downtown. Modern building glass and steel. Diana Foster was younger than I'd imagined, early 40s. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. "Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Archer, show me everything." I laid out the evidence for the 3rd time in 18 hours. Diana studied each item carefully. The receipt, 350,000 S. Ivanov. Her eyebrows rose. "I know this name." Diana turned to her computer, typing rapidly. After a few minutes, she rotated the screen toward us. "Sergei Ivanov, Russian national, 45. Suspected kingpin of international trafficking operations. FBI's been investigating him for 5 years. Multiple Interpol warrants." Then Diana picked up the photos of Grace and Liam. Those red circles. Her professional calm cracked. "My God, these are your grandchildren." "Yes," I whispered. "In trafficking cases, when children are marked like this, they're being identified for buyers. Red circles mean they've been selected." The room tilted. Diana reached for her phone, dialed from memory. "Agent Thomas Blake, Diana Foster, Santa Fe. I have a case needing urgent federal attention. Human trafficking. Children in imminent danger." She listened, then looked at us. "He'll be here in 20 minutes." At 3:25, Diana's receptionist announced, "Agent Blake is here." Through the office door, a man in a dark suit stepped in, FBI badge at his belt. He looked at the photos of Grace and Liam with those angry red circles, and his expression shifted. "My sister," he said quietly. "She was taken by traffickers when she was 8, 20 years ago. We never found her." He looked up at me. "Mrs. Archer, I will make sure your grandchildren don't become statistics like my sister. Tell me everything." Agent Blake needed proof. Hard proof. "Photos and receipts aren't enough," he'd said. "We need to prove Ivanov and your daughter are actively planning Thursday's delivery. We need communications, financial records, evidence of intent." That's when Ryan made the decision that terrified me. "There's a safe in our bedroom," he said. "I've seen Tamsin open it late at night. She doesn't know I know the combination." Blake leaned forward. "What's in it?" Ryan's jaw set. "That's what I'm about to find out." Ryan booked a 5:30 flight back to Fairview. "Are you sure about this?" I asked him at the airport. "We need what's in that safe. Blake made it clear without more evidence this is just domestic suspicion." Ryan hugged me. "Keep the kids safe. I'll be back tomorrow morning with the proof." Back at Paul's house, I sat in his study with Diana and Agent Blake, phone on speaker, waiting for Ryan's call from Fairview. At 7:45 Fairview time, my phone rang. Ryan's voice. "I'm at the house. Tamsin's car isn't here. All the lights are off. Agent Blake. Proceed carefully. The safe is behind the dresser. I've got it. Digital keypad." Silence as Ryan entered the code. "Then it's open." "What's inside?" Blake asked. "Cash. A lot of it. Approximately $80,000. Passports, multiple passports, 3. Different names, Maria Santos, Elena Rodriguez, Carmen Duca, all with Tamsin's photo. Pause. Wait, 2 more. Children's passports, Grace Santos, age 6, Liam Santos, age 3. Their photos, but wrong ages, wrong last names." My heart stopped. "Tickets, airline tickets to Madrid, Spain, departing Thursday night." "Blake, how many tickets?" A long pause. 3 tickets. Maria Santos, Grace Santos, Liam Santos. "Only 3, I heard myself ask. "Only 3, Ryan confirmed. "My name isn't on here. Neither is yours, Juliet." She was planning to take them and disappear. Ryan's voice broke. "Without me. Without you. There's a USB drive labeled SI. Blake, immediately take it. That's priority 1. One more thing. A photo tucked behind the passports. It's Tamsin and a man. Beach setting. Very intimate." "Describe him," Blake asked. "Dark hair, sharp features, expensive suit. Maybe mid-40s. "That's Ivanov," Blake confirmed. "There's writing on the back. To my darling Sergei, our new life soon. Forever yours, T." A sound, half sob, half gasp. Background noise, hurried footsteps, door opening. Water running. He'd run to the bathroom. We heard him vomit. Blake muted our side. The man just realized his marriage was a lie. Ryan came back. "I'm fine. I'm documenting everything." Camera shutter sounds. "Now close it up and get out," Blake ordered. Suddenly, headlights, car turning into the driveway. "Go," Blake barked. "Back door now." Ryan running. The front door opening, we could hear it through the phone. Through the phone, we heard Tamsin's voice, distant. "Why isn't anyone answering?" Ryan whispered, "Backyard, behind shed." "Does she see you?" Blake asked. "No, I'm moving toward the back fence." "Over the fence, in the alley, I'm safe." All of us exhaled. 15 minutes later, a text from Ryan. "At Airport Hotel, have USB, photos of everything. 6 a.m. flight back to Santa Fe tomorrow." I collapsed into the chair. He'd done it. Blake looked at me. "Mrs. Archer, your daughter isn't being coerced. She's actively planning to kidnap your grandchildren and flee the country with a notorious trafficker. The wedding date," I said quietly. Ryan said the safe combination was their wedding date, April 12th, 2017. Diana understood. She used the symbol of her marriage to protect evidence of her betrayal. At 9 o'clock, I tucked Grace and Liam into blankets in Paul's living room. Grace asked, "Is Daddy okay?" I said, "Daddy's fine, sweetheart. He'll be back tomorrow morning." But I knew tomorrow would bring new horrors, because Agent Blake had said, "We need to analyze that USB. If it contains what I think communications between Ivanov and your daughter, it could expose the entire trafficking network. Not just save Grace and Liam, but dozens of other children." The USB Ryan had risked everything to retrieve might hold the key to dismantling a trafficking empire. Tomorrow we would learn exactly what kind of monster my daughter had become. Thursday morning, 9 o'clock, 26 hours since we'd fled Fairview, 13 hours until Tamsin's planned warehouse delivery. Agent Blake had assembled us in a secure FBI conference room, me, Ryan, Diana, and 2 FBI tech specialists. On the table between us sat the USB drive we'd risked everything to retrieve. "Before we analyze the USB-E," Blake said, "you need to understand what we found when we decrypted it overnight." He turned to the screens mounted on the walls. The first image made nausea sweep through me. A spreadsheet, hundreds of rows, each row a child. 217 children, Blake said quietly. Ages 3 to 14, 18 nationalities, photos, physical descriptions, assigned values. I forced myself to look. Faces. So many faces. 14 countries in the network. This isn't just Ivanov, it's a global operation. Diana leaned forward. Financial records. $18.7 million in Bitcoin transactions over 3 years. Your daughter's account received $840,000, including the $350 we saw on that receipt. Ryan's voice came out hollow. $840,000 from selling children. Blake clicked to another screen. 2,400 encrypted messages between your daughter Ivanov and 11 regional coordinators. Then he paused. Mrs. Archer, this next part, there's no easy way to show you this. The screen filled with a video thumbnail. Tamsin and Sergei Ivanov on a beach, embracing. Multiple videos, intimate messages. This wasn't a business arrangement. Your daughter and Ivanov are lovers. Blake clicked one more time. A database entry. Package. Agent Blake had assembled us in a secure FBI conference room, me, Ryan, Diana, and 2 FBI tech specialists. On the table between us sat the USB drive we'd risked everything to retrieve. Before we analyzed the USB, Blake said, "You need to understand what we found when we decrypted it overnight." He turned to the screens mounted on the walls. The first image made nausea sweep through me. A spreadsheet, hundreds of rows, each row a child. 217 children, Blake said quietly, ages 3 to 14, 18 nationalities, photos, physical descriptions, assigned values. I forced myself to look. Faces. So many faces. 14 countries in the network. This isn't just Ivanov, it's a global operation. Diana leaned forward. Financial records. $18.7 million in Bitcoin transactions over 3 years. Your daughter's account received $840,000, including the $350 we saw on that receipt. Ryan's voice came out hollow. $840,000 from selling children. Blake clicked to another screen. 2,400 encrypted messages between your daughter Ivanov and 11 regional coordinators. Then he paused. Mrs. Archer, this next part, there's no easy way to show you this. The screen filled with a video thumbnail, Tamsin and Sergei Ivanov on a beach, embracing. Multiple videos, intimate messages. This wasn't a business arrangement. Your daughter and Ivanov are lovers. Blake clicked one more time. A database entry. Package 227 and 228. Age 7 and 4. Nationality American. Value $200,000 total. Delivery Thursday, April 17th, 10 p.m. Grace and Liam. Listed like inventory. Priced like livestock. Blake pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. A little girl, maybe 8, with dark curly hair. My sister, Rebecca. 20 years ago, she was taken from a park in Portland. We never found her. Every child I save, I imagine I'm bringing Rebecca home. At that moment, a young woman entered Agent Sarah Mitchell, FBI tech specialist. Federal judge approved the wiretap at 8 this morning, Blake said. We're now legally authorized to monitor all communication on Tamsin Bennett's phone. Sarah connected her laptop to the conference room screens. A map appeared. A red dot pulsed in Fairview. That's Tamsin's current location, coffee shop on 3rd Street. At 10:45 Mountain Time, Sarah suddenly said, "Outgoing call." She's dialing through an encrypted messaging app. The screen displayed calling SI, Sergei Ivanov. Sound crackled through the conference room speakers. Tamsin's voice tense. "Sergei, we have a problem. The kids are gone. My mom took them to Santa Fe." A man's voice cold with a Russian accent. "Do you think they know? I don't know. How could they? Do you think they know about the delivery? Tonight is the delivery. The buyers are positioned at the warehouse. They paid $350,000 deposit. If we don't deliver tonight, they will come for us. I can't deliver what I don't have. My kids are 800 miles away." My kids. She still called them that even while selling them. Find them, track them down, the warehouse, Highway 40 East, 10 p.m. sharp. And after we still go to Madrid, yes, new life as we planned, but only if you deliver tonight. I'll find them, I promise. The call ended. We sat in stunned silence. Blake spoke first. "We've got her. Recorded confession of trafficking conspiracy." Sarah brought up a map, warehouse location, Highway 40 East Industrial Zone abandoned factory complex. Blake stood. "We let the meeting happen. SWAT teams surround the warehouse, record everything. Then we take them all, Ivanov, your daughter, the buyers." Ryan's voice came out empty. "She called Grace and Liam merchandise." I held his hand, both of us shaking. Blake checked his watch. 11 hours until the warehouse meeting. Grace and Liam stay at Paul's under FBI protection. At noon, I sat staring at the screen showing Tamsin's location, still at the coffee shop, still searching for her missing merchandise. In 11 hours at a warehouse on Highway 40 East, the FBI would either dismantle a trafficking empire or my family would be caught in the crossfire. At 2 o'clock, I returned to the FBI office alone. Ryan stayed with Grace and Liam at Paul's house. Liam was asking for Daddy, but I needed to understand the full extent of what my daughter had become. Agent Blake met me at the secure tech room door. "Last chance to walk away," he said gently. "Once you've seen these things, you'll never forget them." I thought of Grace's face circled in red. "I need to know," I said. The room was small, windowless, soundproofed. One computer, a large screen. Sarah Mitchell sat at the keyboard, Blake standing behind her. Diana came with me. "You shouldn't see this alone," she'd insisted. "Mrs. Archer, we've broken the USB's encryption. It's organized into 3 folders." Sarah opened the first folder, Inventory. The screen filled with video thumbnails, 12 small squares. "These are video files, each shows a different child." My throat closed. "Show me one." A boy appeared on screen, maybe 6 years old, standing against a white wall. A voice off camera. Sergey's accent. "Turn around, say your name." The boy frightened. "Michael." "How old?" 6. Video ended. "That's an audition tape," I whispered. Blake nodded. "All 12 videos follow the same format, ages 3 to 10. Are Grace and Liam in these videos?" Sarah, "No. They hadn't reached this stage yet." Sarah closed the videos, opened a folder of documents. Communications, email exchanges between S. Ivanoff and T. Bennett, starting 18 months ago. 18 months. That's how long the affair and the trafficking had been going on. Sarah read aloud, "Sergey, I have 2 new targets. Girl 7, boy 4. Excellent health. I can deliver them in April. Premium pricing." My daughter's words. Reply from Ivanoff confirmed premium pricing. Total $350,000. Perfect ages for our Russian clients. Proceed with acquisition. Acquisition, I repeated numbly. She called kidnapping her own children acquisition. Sarah scrolled through dozens more emails. 47 emails total, all business, discussing logistics, pricing, buyer preferences. Blake said carefully, "Your daughter wasn't coerced. She's an active, willing participant, a recruiter." The third folder contains personal files, photos and videos of Ms. Bennett and Ivanoff. There's one video. It contains a conversation about your grandchildren. My hands gripped the armrests. "I need to see it." The screen showed a bedroom, European decor. Tamsin and Sergey in bed, whispering together. Timestamp 6 months ago. Tamsin's voice. "Tell me about Madrid again." Sergey, 3 bedrooms near Retiro Park. New names, new life. No Ryan, no responsibilities. Tamsin laughed. "Once we deliver these last 2 packages, we're done right." Sergey. "Yes, Russian buyers pay triple for American children. After this, we retire wealthy." Tamsin's voice shifted darker. "I can't believe I'm doing this with my own kids. But honestly, they were always Ryan's, never really mine. I never wanted to be a mother." My hand came up to cover my mouth. Sergey, "You'll be a wonderful mother to our children. Real children, not these burdens." Tamsin, 2 more days then we're free. Ryan will never know his precious wife planned to sell them from the start. God, he's so stupid. Laughter. Video ended. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Burdens. She called them burdens. Diana was crying beside me. "Does Ryan know about this video?" "Not yet," Blake said. "We wanted you to decide." "He needs to know. He deserves the truth." I dialed Ryan. He answered immediately. "Ryan, I need you to come to the FBI office. The USB. There's something you need to see." When Ryan arrived, we played the bedroom video. When Tamsin called the kids burdens, his eyes squeezed shut. When she called him stupid, his jaw clenched. When the video ended, he stood silent. Then he walked into the hallway. I followed, found him sliding down to sit on the floor. I sat beside him. "She never loved them," he whispered. "I know. How do I tell them?" "You don't. Not yet. Right now, we protect them. We love them." Ryan nodded, wiped his face. Agent Blake stepped out. I just received word from our Fairview office. Tamsin hired private investigator Marcus Webb 4 hours ago. Marcus Webb has suspected organized crime connections investigated twice for working with trafficking rings. If he's on Ivanov's payroll, he's finding them to deliver straight to the warehouse tonight. We need to prepare for the possibility Marcus will find Paul's address. I looked at Blake. Ready, how? By using Paul's house as bait. Move Grace and Liam to an FBI safe house. When Marcus comes, and he will, we'll be waiting. At noon Mountain Time, I sat in the FBI safe house staring at a red dot on a digital map. My daughter was hunting for the children she had tried to sell. Agent Sarah Mitchell stood beside me, her fingers flying across a keyboard. The red dot representing Tamsin's phone moved slowly through Fairview, stopping first at Mercy General Hospital at 12:15, then St. Luke's Medical Center at 12:45. She's hit 6 hospitals and 3 police stations in 4 hours, Sarah said quietly. Blake leaned over her shoulder. She's desperate. She knows Sergei will kill her if she doesn't deliver. My chest ached. This was my daughter, the woman I had raised. Somewhere beneath the monster she had become a part of her must still love those children. Yet she had marked their photographs with red circles and listed them as merchandise. At 4:30 Fairview time, the red dot stopped moving. Sarah zoomed in. 412 Oak Street, room 301. Private investigator's office. Blake's eyes narrowed. Marcus Webb. 42 licensed investigator, formerly under Bureau investigation for ties to organized crime. Sarah pulled up a security camera feed from the building's lobby. I watched Tamsin step through the glass doors, her shoulders slumped, her face pale with exhaustion. She climbed the stairs and knocked on a door marked 301. A lean man with graying temples opened it. Marcus Webb. I saw Tamsin hand him a thick envelope. Blake tapped his tablet. A TM withdrawal this morning, $5,000 cash. She just hired him to find Grace and Liam. 15 minutes later, Sarah intercepted Webb's phone. A man's voice, thick with a Russian accent, filled the room. I've been retained by T, Webb said. She's panicking. I'll have a location within 2 hours. The merchandise must be secured by tonight, Sergei Ivanov replied. The buyers are already en route to the warehouse. If you fail, she pays with her life. Understood. I have access to credit card databases. I'll trace the grandmother's purchases. Sarah muted the line and turned to Blake. He's got a contact inside a regional bank. He can pull transaction records illegally. At 5:15 Fairview time, Webb made another call. My breath caught when I heard him say, I have the address, 447 Juniper Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I can be there by 9 tonight. Tamsin's voice trembling, get them back, whatever it takes. Blake was already barking orders. Move Grace and Liam to the secondary safe house immediately. Notify Paul Henderson. We're using his property as bait. Within minutes, Sarah confirmed that Grace and Liam had been relocated to an undisclosed location 20 minutes away. Paul and Linda agreed to let the FBI use their home. Blake outlined the plan. A 6-agent SWAT team would surround the house hidden in the trees and garage. Timed lights would create the illusion the family was home. Infrared cameras would capture Webb's approach. Diana Foster leaned forward. If Webb enters with intent to abduct, that's federal kidnapping. We can arrest him, seize his phone, and use his contacts to map Ivanov's entire network. Blake nodded. Webb walks into the trap at 9. We take him alive. I gripped the armrests, my knuckles white. The plan was solid, but the margin for error was razor thin. If Webb suspected anything, he would vanish. If Sergei learned the FBI was involved, he might move the warehouse meeting, or worse, send someone after Grace and Liam at the new safe house. At 6 o'clock Fairview time, Sarah pulled up Webb's GPS. The blue icon was moving west on Interstate 25, heading towards Santa Fe. Blake checked his watch and stood. SWAT deploys in 30 minutes. By 9 tonight, we'll have Webb in custody and one step closer to shutting down Ivanov's network. I stared at the blue dot crawling across the map, and in 3 hours at a quiet adobe house on Juniper Road, Marcus Webb would walk into an ambush that would either save my grandchildren or destroy everything we had fought for. Thursday morning in Santa Fe brought a false calm. I helped Grace color a desert landscape at the kitchen table, while Liam built block towers with Captain Courage perched on his shoulder. Linda hummed at the stove, flipping blue corn pancakes, and Ryan and Paul sat in the study reviewing USB files on a laptop. The thick adobe walls felt like a fortress until Agent Blake's encrypted phone, lying on the counter beside me, lit up with a red alert. Blake called at 9:25. "Juliet, Marcus Webb is on the move. Former cop private investigator working for Sergey. Tamsin hired him yesterday. He may have tracked you through credit card transactions. Stay alert." My spine stiffened. I glanced at Grace, who was carefully shading a cactus with green crayon, oblivious. "Thank you, Blake. We'll be ready." At 10:15, Blake called again, his tone clipped. Denver field office flagged a database query for Paul's address from an IP linked to Webb's office. Estimated arrival noon. Local agents are en route. I set down the phone and walked into the study. Ryan looked up from the laptop. "What's wrong?" "Marcus Webb knows we're here. Blake says noon." Paul stood immediately. "I'll lock the doors and turn on the security cameras." Ryan gathered Grace and Liam. "Let's play a quiet game in Grandpa Paul's guest room, okay?" Grace's wide eyes searched her father's face, but she nodded. Linda helped me hide the evidence bag in the bottom drawer of her sewing cabinet beneath rolls of fabric. My palms were slick with sweat. At 11:30, Blake confirmed 2 FBI agents were parked in an unmarked sedan, 2 houses down, ready to intercept. I stood at the living room window watching the street. At 11:50, a silver sedan with New Mexico plates pulled up. A tall man in a navy jacket stepped out, crew cut and sunglasses. I watched him scan the street slowly. Something about the way he moved made my skin crawl. I recognized him from the photo Blake had sent Marcus Webb. He walked slowly toward Paul's house carrying a clipboard. I whispered into the FBI earpiece Blake had given me. "He's here." At 5 past noon, Marcus knocked. Paul opened the door a crack, the chain lock still fastened. "Can I help you?" Marcus smiled. It looked forced, like he was trying too hard. "FedEx delivery for Henderson. Need a signature." Paul squinted at him. "Let me see your ID." Marcus pulled out a plastic card with a blurry FedEx logo. Paul stalled. "This doesn't look right. Let me call the main office." I saw Marcus's smile vanish. His hand moved toward his jacket pocket. I saw it through the security camera feed on Paul's tablet. A chill ran down my back. At 12:10, 2 black SUVs blocked the street. 4 FBI agents in tactical vests jumped out, weapons drawn. "FBI, hands up." I saw Marcus spin and try to run. 1 agent tackled him onto the lawn. My heart thudded against my ribs as I watched through the window. Grace ran out from the back room. "Grandma, what's happening?" Ryan tried to hold her, but she had already seen the man being handcuffed on the grass. I knelt and wrapped my arms tight around her. "Just a man who got lost, sweetheart. You're safe." My voice trembled, but I forced it steady. The agent searched Marcus and found a GPS tracker, a burner phone, with a text to Sergey. "Kids at 11:27, Camino Real, Santa Fe, confirming visual. Awaiting instructions." A professional lockpick kit and a loaded Glock 19 hidden in his jacket. An agent radioed in, "Subject in custody, evidence secured." At 12:30, Blake called. "Marcus is Sergey's inside man. If we hadn't stopped him, your grandchildren would have disappeared tonight. His phone shows he texted Sergey your exact address 11 minutes ago. Sergey hasn't replied yet, but he knows where you are. We're moving you to a federal safe house immediately. Pack only essentials. Agents arrive in 20 minutes. I looked at Grace clutching her yellow rabbit, Liam playing with Captain Courage Ryan standing tense by the window, Paul and Linda cleaning up in silence. We had been found. But even as I held Grace close, Agent Blake's final words echoed in my mind. "Sergey knows where you are. We're counting in hours now, not days." By Thursday evening, Agent Blake had assembled a joint task force. The warehouse on Highway 40 East was not just a delivery point. It was the nerve center of Sergey Ivanov's entire operation. I sat in a secure room at the federal safe house, an encrypted phone on the table in front of me. Ryan sat beside me, his hand gripping mine. At 6 o'clock, Blake called. "Juliet, we're raiding the warehouse tonight. Marcus's phone gave us the final piece. Sergey and Tamsin will both be there for the 10 p.m. handoff. I want you on the line to hear it live." My breath came shallow and rapid. Ryan squeezed my hand. Blake continued, his voice clipped and professional. 40 agents, thermal drones, 2 breach teams. Federal warrants for trafficking and kidnapping. We'll bring them in. At 6:30, Paul Henderson called. Juliet, you've been braver than anyone I know. Tonight those children come home. I thanked him, my voice trembling. Blake explained the plan. 3 black SUVs would approach from the north, lights off. A thermal drone showed 8 heat signatures inside the warehouse, 2 in the office, 6 in the main bay. The teams would wait until Sergey and Tamsin arrived, confirm the children were present, then breach. I asked, will Grace and Liam's names be cleared? Blake answered without hesitation. We'll make sure the world knows they were targets, not accomplices. The ledger lists them as merchandise, not conspirators. My fingers dug into the edge of the table. Ryan poured coffee, but neither of us drank. At 8:30, Blake whispered through his mic. We're moving. Warehouse is 12 miles east. Drone shows lights inside 2 vehicles in the lot. At 9:15, silver Mercedes just pulled in. Plates match Sergey's alias. He's inside. At 9:40, second vehicle, black Audi, Tamsin's rental. She just entered through the side door. At 9:50, they're unloading duffel bags. Thermal confirms children inside, at least 4 small figures restrained. Blood roared in my ears. Ryan's jaw locked tight. Neither of us spoke. I whispered a silent prayer. Please, God, let those children go home tonight. At 10:02, Blake's voice cut through the silence. Green light, breach in 3, 2, 1. FBI, hands up. The speaker crackled with chaos, shouting, get on the ground now! A woman's scream, Tamsin's voice. It sounded panicked, raw. Sergey replied, his voice cold and accented, you have no jurisdiction here. Blake steady and hard. International warrant. You're done. Then I heard children crying. Distant, faint. They sounded terrified. Blake's tone softened. It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now. We're taking you home. Sirens wailed. Metal clinked handcuffs, I realized. Another agent's voice. 2 suspects in custody. Children secured. My legs trembled beneath me. Ryan's hand squeezed mine so hard it hurt. We did not dare breathe. At 10:15, Blake returned to the phone. Sergey and Tamsin are in custody. 4 children rescued tonight, ages 5 to 9 from 3 states. Tamsin tried to destroy a laptop. Our tech team recovered it. Juliet, we've got her cold. Blake listed the evidence. I grabbed a pen and scribbled notes. $420,000 cash in duffel bags. A laptop with a client ledger showing 31 pending orders. Burner phones linking Tamsin Sergey and Marcus Webb. Shipping manifests to Madrid, Prague, and Bangkok. And Tamsin's handwritten ledger. Blake's voice steadied. Package number 227 and 228. Grace A, age 7. Liam A, age 4. Total value $200,000. Delivery Thursday, 10 p.m. Tears stung my eyes but did not fall. I whispered to Ryan, she priced our children. Ryan collapsed back in his chair. For a full minute, neither of us spoke. Blake's final words came at 10:40. Tamsin is demanding a lawyer. Sergey isn't talking. Both face federal trafficking charges, minimum 25 years, possibly life. You and the kids are safe, Juliet. I thanked him, my voice barely holding. Thank you for bringing those children home. Blake replied, we'll need you in Denver tomorrow for a formal deposition, but tonight rest. It's over. I set down the phone. Ryan and I sat in the darkness of the safe house, the only sound the soft breathing of Grace and Liam from the back room. But as I stared at the silent phone, one question burned in my mind. How do I tell Grace and Liam that their mother will never come home again? Friday morning, Agent Blake called with news that would change everything. The laptop Tamsin had tried to destroy had been decrypted, and what it revealed was worse than anything we imagined. At 8:15, Blake asked, Juliet, can you and Ryan join a video briefing at 9? We need to walk everyone through what we found. At 9 o'clock, Ryan and I logged into the FBI's secure portal from the safe house. Diana Foster joined from her office. Blake appeared on the screen beside a young woman in a lab coat, a forensic analyst. My hands clasped tight in my lap. Ryan sat silent beside me. Blake began. The laptop contains 4 main data sets. First, a customer database, 143 active buyers across 18 countries, with the highest concentration in Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia. Second transaction history, $18.7 million in Bitcoin payments over 3 years. Tamsin's account received $840,000, including the $350,000 Juliet found. I covered my mouth. Ryan's arm came around my shoulders. Blake continued. Third child profiles. 217 children cataloged by age, nationality, and buyer preferences. Photos of Grace and Liam were uploaded 3 weeks ago, tagged Premium American Fair Features High Demand. I whispered hoarsely. She listed them like inventory. Blake's tone softened. Fourth communications. 2,400 encrypted messages between Tamsin Sergey and 11 regional coordinators, including Marcus Webb. Interpol has issued red notices for all 11. As of this morning, 6 are in custody. The remaining 5 are detained in Prague, Madrid, and Bangkok. This is the largest trafficking bust in a decade. My throat tightened. Diana took notes in silence. Blake shifted to interrogations. Tamsin invoked her right to counsel, but her attorney, Marcus Griffin, reviewed the evidence and advised her that cooperation is her only option. She's agreed to testify against Sergey in exchange for a reduced sentence, likely 15 years instead of life. I asked, my voice barely steady, will she ever be allowed near Grace and Liam again? Now Diana answered. No. Federal law bars convicted traffickers from parental rights. Ryan will file for sole custody today. Blake added, Sergey Ivanov refuses to speak. Interpol found properties in his name across 6 countries, including a villa in Montenegro with a hidden room. Forensics recovered DNA from 12 missing children. He'll face charges in multiple jurisdictions. The U.S. alone is pursuing a minimum 40-year sentence. My shoulders sagged with relief. Sergey would never walk free. Diana reviewed the evidence against Tamsin bank transfer receipts, the handwritten note with her signature fake passports in the safe Madrid tickets without Ryan's or my name. The laptop entry listing Grace and Liam as package 227 and 228 worth $200,000 her arrest at the warehouse. And Marcus Webb's testimony confirming she hired him. Diana's voice was calm but firm. The prosecutor will offer Tamsin 15 years if she pleads guilty and testifies. If she refuses, they'll seek life without parole. Either way, she will never have custody. We'll file for Ryan's sole custody immediately. Blake said, Judge Helen Pierce has scheduled an emergency custody hearing for Monday, April 21st. FBI will provide security escort. At 2 o'clock that afternoon, I sat with Grace and Liam in the safe house garden. Grace colored a picture of the adobe house, humming softly. Liam clutched Captain Courage and chased a lizard across the porch, laughing. They didn't know yet. But soon, I would have to find the words. At 4:45, Blake called again. Juliet, you saved 217 lives. The 4 children we rescued Thursday night are home with their families. 12 more children have been located alive thanks to the laptop data. Your courage started all of this. My voice trembled. When can we go home? Monday after the custody hearing. Fairview Police will escort you. Sergey's network is dismantled. You're safe. A hollow ache settled in my chest. Safe, yes, but the hardest part remained. Ryan stood by the window watching the children. He turned to me. We have to tell them before the hearing. Diana said Monday morning before we leave for court. I nodded. But as I watched Liam laugh and chase a lizard across the porch, I knew the hardest conversation of my life still lay ahead. How do I explain that his mother chose money over him? Monday morning, in Judge Helen Pierce's courtroom, I sat across from my daughter for the first time since she had tried to sell my grandchildren, and she wouldn't even look me in the eye. At 8:45, Blake escorted Ryan and me through a side entrance past a crowd of reporters shouting questions. I glimpsed Tamsin in the holding area, orange jumpsuit hands cuffed, staring at the floor. At 9 o'clock, Judge Pierce gavelled the hearing open. Tamsin sat at the defense table beside her attorney, Marcus Griffin. Ryan and I sat in the front row with Diana Foster. Prosecutor Ellen Vasquez began. Tamsin Bennett, age 36, is charged with conspiracy to commit human trafficking, child endangerment, and fraud. Evidence includes bank transfers, laptop ledgers, warehouse arrest, and Agent Blake's testimony. We request sole custody for Ryan Bennett and recommend a 15-year federal sentence under a plea agreement. Diana spoke next. Your Honor, my client Ryan Bennett and his mother-in-law Juliet Archer acted with extraordinary courage to protect Grace, age 7, and Liam, age 4. We petitioned for immediate sole custody for Mr. Bennett and termination of Mrs. Bennett's supervised visitation. Agent Blake was sworn in. He described the discovery at Tony's leather shop, the evidence bag containing a $350,000 receipt photos with jagged red circles and a handwritten note. He recounted Marcus Webb's infiltration attempt, the warehouse raid, and the rescue of 4 children. Then he testified about the laptop data, 217 child profiles, with Grace and Liam listed as package 227 and 228, valued at $200,000 total. Judge Pierce asked, Agent Blake, in your professional opinion, were these children in imminent danger? Blake answered without hesitation. Yes, Your Honor. Had we not intercepted, they would have been trafficked to buyers in Madrid within 72 hours. My hands gripped the bench in front of me. The prosecutor displayed evidence on a screen, the photos with red circles, the handwritten note, and a page from Tamsin's ledger, verified by a forensic expert. Marcus Griffin stood. Ms. Bennett wishes to plead guilty to all charges in exchange for a 15-year sentence. She expresses remorse. I could barely hear Tamsin's voice. I plead guilty, Your Honor. Judge Pierce asked, Ms. Bennett, do you understand that by pleading guilty you waive your right to trial? Yes, Your Honor. Judge Pierce turned to me. Mrs. Archer, would you like to make a statement? Before I reveal what Juliet said to her daughter in that courtroom, words that would change everything I need to know on a scale of 1 to 10. How curious are you about what happens next? Drop your number in the comments so I know you're still with me. And just a heads up, the story ahead blends some fictional elements for educational impact. If that's not your preference, feel free to pause here and choose something else. I stood. My voice trembled but held steady. Your Honor, I raised Tamsin. I loved her. I never imagined she could look at her own children and see dollar signs. Grace asks me every night when her mother is coming home. I don't know how to tell her the truth that her mother chose a man and money over her and her brother. Those red circles. I pointed to the screen. That's how my daughter saw my grandchildren, not Grace and Liam. Merchandise. Tamsin looked up. Tears streamed down her face. Her lips moved silently. I'm sorry. I turned away. Ryan stood. His jaw was set, his voice steady and clear. I married Tamsin 9 years ago. I thought I knew her. But the woman who wrote that note is a stranger. I will raise Grace and Liam to know kindness, honesty, and courage, everything their mother abandoned. I asked the court to grant me sole custody and ensure my children never have to see her again. At 11 o'clock, Judge Pierce delivered her ruling. Full legal and physical custody is granted to Ryan Bennett, effective immediately. Tamsin Bennett's visitation rights are terminated. Mrs. Bennett, you are sentenced to 15 years in federal prison followed by 10 years supervised probation. You will pay $200,000 in restitution to a victim child support fund. You will have no contact with Grace or Liam Bennett during or after your incarceration. This court finds that you pose a clear danger to your children. Marshals led Tamsin toward a side door. She turned back and whispered, "Tell them I loved them." I replied softly but firmly, "Love is protection. You sold them." The gavel fell. Tamsin disappeared through the door. I exhaled for the first time in 6 days. Ryan took my hand. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. Blake waved them off. Ryan and I climbed into the FBI escort vehicle. Ryan squeezed my hand. "Now we go home and tell the kids their mother isn't coming back. Will you help me find the right words?" I didn't have the answer yet, but I knew we would find it together. Tuesday afternoon, we drove back to Fairview under a blue sky like a promise, but the hardest part of the journey still waited at home. Ryan gripped the steering wheel tight as we headed south on Interstate 25. Grace colored in the back seat. Liam slept with Captain Courage tucked under his arm. I rehearsed the words in my mind, searching for a way to explain the unexplainable. At 4:45, we pulled into my driveway. The kids ran inside, excited to see their rooms again after 6 days away. Grace hugged her yellow sunshine bunny. Liam asked, "Is Mommy home yet?" Ryan and I exchanged a glance. "Let's sit down, sweetheart," I said. Daddy and I need to talk to you and Grace." At 5 o'clock, we sat together on the living room sofa. Grace and Liam sat between us. Ryan began gently. "Grace, Liam, Daddy, and Grandma need to talk to you about Mommy." Grace looked up. "Is Mommy still at work?" I smoothed her hair. "Sweetheart, Mommy made some very bad choices. She hurt people, and she was going to hurt you and Liam, too." Grace's face scrunched in confusion. "Hurt us? How?" Ryan's voice stayed steady. "Mommy was going to take you far away from Daddy and Grandma to a place where we couldn't find you. But Grandma stopped her." Liam whimpered. "I want Mommy." I held him close. "I know, baby, but Mommy has to go away for a very, very long time. A judge decided that. Daddy and I will take care of you." Grace sat quiet for a moment. Then she asked softly, "Is Mommy in jail?" Ryan nodded slowly. "Yes, sweetheart." "Did Mommy do something really bad?" "Yes," Ryan said, "she did." Liam buried his face in my shoulder and cried. Grace sat still, her small hands folded in her lap. At 5:45, Grace stood and walked to her room. She returned with a drawing she had made in crayon. 3 figures, Ryan, me, and Liam, held hands under a bright sun. There was no 4th figure. She handed it to me. "This is our family now." My heart broke and healed at the same time. Ryan studied the picture, his jaw tight, then squeezed Grace's hand without speaking. At 6:30, Liam asked me to read him a story. I chose Where the Wild Things Are. Liam clung to Captain Courage and whispered, "When I'm big, will Mommy come back?" I knelt beside the bed and chose my words carefully. "Maybe someday you'll understand why she can't. But Daddy and I will always be here." Liam cried himself to sleep. I tucked the blanket around him and left the nightlight on. At 7, Ryan stood with me in the kitchen. "I'm selling the house, too many memories. We'll find a new place, just the 4 of us." I nodded. "You can stay here as long as you need." He squeezed my shoulder. "Thank you, Mom, for everything." At 7:30, Tony Marchetti stopped by with a repaired handbag for a neighbor. He hugged me. "You saved those kids. I'm proud of you." "I couldn't have done it without you," I said. At 8 o'clock, Paul called. "How are the kids?" "Grace is quiet." Liam cried himself to sleep. "But they're safe, and that's all that matters." Paul's voice was warm. "You're a hero, Juliet." I shook my head, even though he couldn't see. "I'm just a grandmother who loves her grandchildren." At 8:15, I tucked Grace into bed. As I smoothed the blanket, she looked up at me. "Grandma, are you angry at Mommy?" I paused. "I'm sad for Mommy. She lost the most precious thing in the world, you and Liam. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm just grateful you're here." Grace nodded slowly. "I drew the picture without Mommy because I don't think she wants to be in our family." I held her close. "You're very wise, sweetheart, and very brave." Grace closed her eyes. I turned off the light and left the door open a crack. That night, I stood in the hallway between Grace's room and Liam's, listening to their breathing. For the first time in a week, I slept through the night, but I knew the healing journey had only just begun. 3 months later, on a Saturday in July, Grace and Liam ran barefoot across the grass of our new backyard, and for the first time since that Tuesday in April, I heard them laugh without fear. I stood at the kitchen counter making pancakes. Grace set the table. Liam arranged his dinosaur toys in a careful line on the living room floor. Ryan sipped coffee and scrolled through his phone. A headline caught his eye: "Ivanov trial scheduled for August." He set the phone down and smiled at me. We didn't need to talk about it. At 11 o'clock, the kids ran outside. Grace chased butterflies across the grass. Liam dug in the sandbox Ryan had built the week before. I sat on the porch with a glass of iced tea and watched them play. 3 months ago, I had held a stranger's jacket and found evidence my daughter wanted to sell my grandchildren. I didn't sleep for 6 nights. I made decisions I never imagined I'd have to make. And now here we are, Grace laughing, Liam building castles, Ryan planning next weekend's zoo trip. It's not the life we had. It's better because it's honest. At noon, the mail carrier delivered a letter from the FBI Victim Services Division. "Dear Mrs. Archer, thanks to your actions, 47 of the 217 children identified in the Ivanov network have been safely returned to their families. 12 others are in protective care. Your courage changed their lives." I taped the letter to the refrigerator. At 1 o'clock, Tony, Paul, and Linda arrived for the barbecue. Tony brought his famous Italian sausages. Linda brought lemon bars. Grace ran to hug Paul. Liam showed off his sandbox. At 2 o'clock, Agent Blake stopped by. He had good news. Sergei Ivanov's lawyer had advised him to plead guilty. He faced a minimum of 42 years in federal prison. Blake handed me an official FBI commendation letter. I shook my head. I didn't need recognition. I just needed my grandchildren safe. Blake smiled. You have both. At 3 o'clock, the adults sat on the porch while the kids played. Paul asked Grace about school. She would start the fall semester in a few weeks. Grace looked up, her face serious. I want to be a police officer when I grow up so I can help kids like Agent Blake did. My eyes misted. I said nothing. There was nothing to add. At 4 o'clock, Liam climbed into my lap. Grandma, will Mommy come to my birthday? I answered honestly but gently. No, sweetheart, but Daddy and I will always be there. Liam nodded and ran off to play. At 5:30, the guests left. Ryan cleaned the grill. I sat on the porch swing with Grace and Liam. Grace leaned against me. This is the best house ever. Liam grinned. Can we have s'mores? Ryan laughed. Tomorrow, buddy. At 6 o'clock, I tucked the kids into their new beds. Grace hugged her yellow sunshine bunny. Liam clung to Captain Courage. I kissed their foreheads and whispered, You're safe. You're loved. You're mine. At 6:30, I sat with Ryan on the porch. We watched fireflies dance across the yard. Ryan asked quietly, Do you think the kids will be okay? I nodded. They already are, and so are we. I looked up at the stars. I thought about the 47 children who had gone home, the 12 still recovering, the 217 I would never forget. I didn't pray aloud. I just offered a silent thanks to whoever had watched over us that Tuesday in April. And in that moment, with fireflies dancing and my grandchildren sleeping safe in their beds, I knew this is the life we fought for. And it is enough. If you've stayed with me through every twist of this journey, I want to share something important with you. When I found that evidence in Tony's shop, I faced a choice that changed everything: turn away or protect my grandchildren. God gave me courage I didn't know I possessed, and I acted. But looking back, I see my mistakes clearly. I missed the warning signs for months. Tamsin's secretiveness, her unexplained money, the way she avoided family gatherings, it was all there, and I ignored it because I didn't want to believe my own daughter could become a monster. Don't be like me. Don't wait until the crisis is at your doorstep. These family drama stories teach us that intuition matters. When something feels wrong in your family, drama stories investigate. Ask the hard questions. Too many grandma stories end in tragedy because someone stayed silent. I've listened to countless grandma stories where hesitation cost lives, where family drama stories spiraled because no one wanted to interfere. I got lucky Grace and Liam are safe, but luck isn't a strategy. My conviction: love demands action. Love protects, fiercely asks uncomfortable questions, and calls for help at midnight when necessary. That's the heart of all meaningful grandma stories. We don't just witness, we intervene. If this story moved you, drop a comment sharing your thoughts or your own experience. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss stories that challenge and inspire. And please hit that share button. Someone in your life might need to hear Juliet's lesson today. Thank you for walking this entire journey with me. One last note. Some upcoming stories blend fictional elements designed for educational insight. If that's not your preference, feel free to explore other content that resonates better with you.
지 혼자 소꿉놀이 하는 거야? 뭐야 이거? 소꿉놀이 하는 거야? 지금 날이 더워서 그래. 야, 눈썹이 짱구가 됐네. 어제 한 거지? 다 왔어, 서희야. 좀만 기다려, 다 왔어.
이거 왜 흔들어? 밥 주세요, 그건가?
밥 주세요, 밥.
네가 히밥이야? 아이고.
서밥이요. 뒤쪽을 잡고 쪼야 되는 거 아니야?
어?
뒤쪽을 잡고 쪼야 되는 거 아니야?
야, 여기 이게 핸들이 움직여서 그러지.
왜 이렇게 움직여?